2011 has been a year to remember. We've been flooded in opposite corners of the state, had historic tornadoes in Joplin and Sedalia and St. Louis, and we've had a lot of the state suffering from an extended drought. A terrible hail and windstorm struck northwest Missouri. Losses to crops, homes, and vehicles have plagued our whole state. It has been a difficult year to be a farmer, a challenging year for our insurance company, and a tragic year for the victims of the storms and floods. When I was a boy, I used to wish that time would move faster. Christmas would come, that the big game would hurry up and get here, that the last day of school would finally come. My mother used to tell me not to wish my life away. As I've gotten older, I realized the wisdom of her words. My children grew up too fast. I miss being young. Now even my grandchildren grow faster than I'd like. Life is too short not to savor every moment, too sweet to hurry along by wishing that tomorrow would come. But surely even Mom would allow me the passing wish that this year would finally end. 2012 has to be better. You can be proud of your insurance companies. They met the challenges of 2011 with compassion, with professionalism, with the willingness to go where the work needs to be done and stay until the job is finished. Agents, claims adjusters, home office staff have worked long hours settling tens of thousands of claims throughout the state, and they deserve our admiration and our thanks. Not only that, but your Farm Bureau and your volunteers have fed meals to hundreds of volunteers and victims in the Joplin area, and we've raised over $25,000 for the Joplin VOAG program. And while we're doing all these things, we reach quota, and Farm Bureau continues to grow steadily. You also should be very proud of the people who have guided your company financially through the past decade and prepared us for just the kind of year we'd had. Charlie Cruz, Dan Cassidy, Randy Campbell, your board of directors, and the insurance management team prepared for a year like this. Our company passed this time of testing with flying colors. We met our obligations to our customers, and we're in good financial shape for the future. Our company is poised to grow and will continue to serve as a source of strength and stability in Missouri's insurance market. We'll fulfill our mission by standing ready to serve residents who need our insurance products. In fact, as many of you recently became aware, we're working to help an insurance company that is not as well prepared for this storms as Missouri Farm Bureau. There's much yet to be done, but if we're successful, we'll help thousands of Missouri residents and will help Missouri Farm Bureau grow both financially and in membership numbers. We've taken steps to maximize the possibilities for growth and to minimize our financial risk. All of our investment will be guaranteed. That's a good thing for Missouri and a wonderful opportunity for Missouri Farm Bureau. Both the flooding in southeast Missouri and the summer-long tragedy that afflicted northwest Missouri demanded changes in the way we as a nation approach management of our rivers. The rivers and fertile land along the rivers are our state's greatest resource, but only if they're managed properly. The levee at Bird's Point must be rebuilt to its former height and strength. Never again should farmers in southeast Missouri lose their land and their homes to poor decision-making by the Corps of Engineers. The Corps must make flood control the top priority along the Missouri River. We spent $600 million in the last couple of decades on various environmental themes and almost nothing on maintaining the river channel and improving bank stability. Even as the flood waters were rising, the budget proposals floating around Washington contained 10 times as much money for reclamation and species habitat as for maintenance of the river system. The Corps of Engineers and the White House bureaucrats must be reminded that flood control and protection of lives and property should be the top priority of the U.S. government. We must have more storage in the Missouri River reservoirs for flood management, and we must rebuild and improve the levee system. Agriculture had a successful session in the state legislature. We were able to make some common sense changes to nuisance law. Without those changes, we had a very real chance of losing our livestock industry in the state of Missouri. And when the livestock industry was gone, crop farmers would have been next in the crosshairs of out-of-state lawyers making their fortunes suing Missouri farmers. In concert, Missouri Farmers Care and a large coalition of other groups were able to make much needed changes to Proposition B. We should be very proud of our state legislature and our governor, because this was not an easy political course to take. Much of the media in the state, and particularly the state's two largest newspapers, were sharply critical of the final compromise. But agriculture's champions in Missouri showed rare political courage. We'll have to step up to the plate and do the hard work necessary to support our friends in coming elections. They were there for us when we needed them, and we won't forget. But there's no rest on this battlefront. Challenges from out-of-state groups keep coming. In the coming year, we've got to pull together again to defeat a ballot proposal called, at least by its supporters, Your Vote Counts. Now, we reject that title because it hardly describes what is a genuinely bad initiative. We've renamed the petition Big Money Talks because we believe that that name better describes what will happen in the citizens of Missouri if we don't defeat this initiative. The United States has prospered since 1776 with a system of government that relies on checks and balances. Both our country and our state have prospered because of the ability to improve legislation. Open debate, hearings are necessary for good law. The initiative process can reflect the will of the people, but it loses its value when it's in the hands of groups with unlimited funds. We need the ability to send a message with initiative petitions, but just as important is the ability to temper the passions of the voters with reasoned debate by our elected officials. Experienced legislatures can serve as a brake on emotions fanned by millions of dollars of 30-second ads. Along with posing big money talks, we'll be working with a coalition of groups to improve the initiative process in Missouri using the examples set by other states. We'll work to reform signature gathering and to prove the information that Missouri voters have when they vote on ballot issues. Voters in Missouri take their responsibility seriously, so we must make sure that they have all the information they need to make good choices. On the national level, 2011 has been a year of regulatory overreach. Between dust regulations, new and exciting ways of interpreting the Clean Water Act, new regulations from the Department of Transportation, we spend a tremendous amount of time arguing for what should be obvious and running as hard as we can to stay in the same place. A front page article in the Kansas City Star, in a famous exchange with an Illinois farmer, President Obama accused agricultural lobbyists in Washington of ginning up farmers with rumors of increased regulation. A front page article in the Kansas City Star and any number of editorials has picked up that refrain. We in agriculture find ourselves fighting on two fronts: an out-of-control regulatory regime and a media that refuses to see the truth that should be as plain as the nose on their faces. Agriculture is under attack from court decisions that will change the way we apply chemicals, from an EPA program that may cut agriculture production in the Chesapeake Bay by as much as 20%, and the Mississippi River watershed will be next, and EPA regulations on arsenic that set the allowable levels of arsenic so low that soils in much of the country will exceed them naturally. Only the EPA could declare dirt a danger to humanity. Eager to join the party, the Federal Department of Labor has farming in its sights as well. You know, the federal government's doing such a great job of managing the economy, the budget, the national debt, all of which are entirely under control. Your government is free to take on another, of the most pressing problems facing the nation: 4-H projects. That's right. Even though the rate of accidents involving young people on farm has dropped by nearly 50% in the last couple of decades, something has to be done to keep kids from learning how to farm. The Labor Department has announced a rule that will tighten the learners' exemptions that make many FFA and 4-H projects possible. Not only that, but they're changing the way they interpret the parental exemption so kids will no longer be able to work for their grandfathers or other extended family members. As you can see, on our farm, we start the grandkids at an early age. In all honesty, I would welcome rules that would have kept me from hoeing beans in my grandfather's soybeans fields, but I would have missed the chance to show cattle at the county fair. Now, lest you think I'm busy ginning up Missouri Farm Bureau members, let me tell you about what happened to one of our members last week. 2 U.S. Department of Labor inspectors arrived on their farm and spent 2 hours interviewing family members who worked on the farm and for how long. Like many family farms in our state, this multi-generation farm had brothers, sisters, and aunts and uncles. The inspectors were shocked to find that a 15-year-old grandson of one of the owners worked on the farm, including operating machinery, and made a point of telling our members that it would soon be illegal for their grandson to work on the family farm. We've had some success fighting back on regulations, and because of our leadership, we've rolled back some of the most egregious new rules, including those on farm dust and transportation rules, trucking rules, farm truck rules. With your help, we can continue to have an impact, but it's critical you make comments on these rules when you have a chance during the comment period. Farm Bureau concentrates on issues facing agriculture, and we do our best work when we're working with issues that are most directly affect farmers. But we can't ignore the rest of the world, and we have to be active on issues that affect us not only as farmers, but as citizens as well. Farmers know how to budget, how to save for the future, and how to operate their businesses in a prudent manner. All these things seem to be a mystery to much of Congress and the Washington establishment. As someone once said, 90% of congressmen spend all of their time making the other 10% look bad. You have to think about that for a minute. We have long-standing policy calling for balanced budgets, and never before have those policies been so important. Our nation faces one of the greatest risks we faced since the Second World War. Too much debt can ruin our nation, and it's very close to doing so. No country has ever been as broke as we are. As we work toward writing a farm bill, and as we lobby for programs important to us, we have to remember the financial situation of our country. Every citizen, including those who depend on farm programs, on Medicare, and on Social Security, will have to make sacrifices to ensure that our country's best days are still ahead. As I've talked this morning about the issues we've worked on this year, I'm sure that many of you have noticed that we're almost always responding to things that are happening to us. We seldom have the luxury of looking ahead. All too often, we can only act as the little Dutch boy moving from one leak in the dike to another. You know, that needs to change. As you'll notice from the banner behind me, the theme of this year's meeting is the power of teamwork. Now, that wasn't my choice. I wanted to use Occupy Tantera as the theme. I thought we'd get a lot more media coverage if we quit working, pitched a few tents in this room, and quit shaving. None of us are ever going to be in the 1%, and we've got plenty of reasons to be mad at the government. But of course, Farm Bureau will never get the kind of media attention that those protesters do. We don't stop traffic, we'll keep working. And we bathe too often to be really interesting to the New York Times. We have an amazing story to tell, but the way we communicate now isn't working. We have to use new means of communicating with the people who influence how our industry is seen and governed. We've launched a new Facebook page, and with the help of our new multimedia specialist, Rebecca French-Smith, we'll have a more active presence on the web, including YouTube. We'll be tweeting, preparing videos, and using new venues like Google+ to communicate both with you, our members, and the public as large. Now, many of us aren't familiar with these new avenues, but we've learned to use fertilizer, crop protection chemicals, global positioning satellites. I know we can do this as well. Or if you're like me, you can have the kids do it. We're working closely with the new organization, U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance, and we're proud that AFBF President Bob Stallman has just been elected to serve a second term as that group's chairman. One of the first things that new organization did was to test the messages that agriculture has been using. And what we found wasn't encouraging. There seems to be a disconnect between what we say and what our audience hears. I'm going to play a video clip that will show what we found. Words that are important to us, like safe, abundant, and affordable, mean very little to consumers. You can see from the lines on the graph that our messages aren't working as well as we'd like.
American farmers and ranchers are dedicated to providing safe, abundant, affordable food for the country and the world. When it comes to food, everything begins with safety. Because if it isn't safe, nothing else matters. That's why we treat food safety as our #1 priority and invest heavily in maintaining it. As the nation's food producers, we're proud to enjoy the highest food safety levels in the world.
Now, to those of you that spend as much time watching Fox News as I do, you know that when those graph lines are running at 50% or lower on that kind of instant response survey, that's bad. That is really bad. Our traditional messages are no longer effective. In fact, what we farmers see as adequate is seen by our consumers as a baseline. They want more. We have to listen to consumers, and we have to use messages like the following that say the things that consumers want to hear. Consumers want a conversation, and we have to be willing to engage them in that conversation.
Not everything farmers do is perfect. No profession or industry is, especially one as big, widespread, and diverse as ours. And consumers rightfully want to make sure we are treating animals well, maintaining food quality and safety, and doing our jobs in ways that don't harm the environment. So today, we want you to know we hear your concerns, and we are committed to responding. We need to do a better job of explaining what we do and why we do it. We need to acknowledge the areas where we've at times fallen down. We need to continue to take concrete steps to make sure consumers approve of the way we operate. And we know that no matter how good we are today, we can always be better.
Many of you have smartphones in your pocket. Take them out, look up the Missouri Farm Bureau Facebook page, and hit the like button. Let's start our conversation this morning and keep working to communicate with each other and with the public at large. The regulatory onslaught we are facing is only possible because we haven't yet learned how to change the political and media environment that allows those regulations to be written. Let's make it our goal to join the conversation to change the environment that we work in. It's a terrible cliche, but we have to change the narrative, or we're always going to be reacting to bad things happening to us. As I've traveled around the state this year, I've taken the opportunity to talk about the Missouri Farm Bureau Foundation. As you know, the foundation sponsors the ambassador program and many grad scholarships and works hard to educate Missourians about agriculture and to promote our industry. But there is so much more that we must do. We've included a line from a $5 voluntary contribution on the Farm Bureau membership renewal form, and we've seen a large increase in contributions as a result. Now, I should point out that $5 is not meant as an upper limit, and we'll accept more. We're also expanding our foundation board by 6 people. We're looking for ways to increase our visibility, our fundraising, our activities. The foundation is a wonderful tool for this organization, and I'd love to hear your ideas about how we can make it better. We'll have more exciting announcements about the foundation in the very near future as our new board members settle into their assignments. We're looking forward to working harder and smarter to accomplish our goal of promoting and educating people about Missouri agriculture. As I look back over the past year, it's easy to remember the storms and the droughts and the battles that we fight each day to protect Missouri agriculture. It's easy to remember people who criticize agriculture for the way we raise food and critics who blame us for everything from global warming to obesity. It's easy to dwell on the difficulties we face from increasing fuel and fertilizer prices. It's hard not to worry about the U.S. debt problems, the collapse of the European Union, and unemployment that's been too high for too long. But we have to remember some other things as well. We have to remember that despite our weather problems here in Missouri, national farm income will set a record high this year, 28%, higher than last year, over $100 billion for the first time. Beef and pork exports are at record highs. The world desperately needs what we produce. We have to remind ourselves and others that the future of agriculture is bright, and we can be truly proud of what we've accomplished. Our challenge is to make sure we have the tools available to provide the food the world needs. There's no more acres, no more farming frontiers. We have to use the best that science and technology can offer to increase production on existing acres, on your farm as well as on mine. Even with record exports, 1 billion people in the world go hungry each and every night. We have to defend what we've accomplished, and we have to be able to take advantage of new technologies as they become available. As pointed out over and over last night, food demand will double by the year 2050. We won't meet that demand without fertilizer, without biotechnology, and without sensible environmental regulations. We're indeed involved in a conversation. One will decide whether we face the future with the confidence and the ability to feed a growing world, or whether we're turning our back on the future and return to an agriculture that can no longer provide what the world needs. Thank you for allowing me to serve as your president. Thank you for what you do on your farms each and every day. And thank you for what you do for Missouri Farm Bureau. Together, we truly do have the power of teamwork. Thank you.